So we're going to get started. I was just going to give a couple more minutes for folks to join, but we're gonna get going. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to United Policyholders Wildfire Recovery and Insurance Orientation for Colorado property owners. My name is Amy Bach, and I am the co-founder of United Policyholders. I'm an attorney. I've been an insurance consumer advocate for my whole career, and I'm so pleased to be able to bring you information that you are unlikely to get from any other source. And that is because our organization, the Roadmap to Recovery program, through which we're bringing you this evening's educational information, has been in a unique space for almost 30 years, bringing information and guidance to households that have suffered partial or total losses in wildfires, and that need guidance and information to get through the process. So thank you for taking the time to come and listen tonight. And I want to encourage you to please let your friends and neighbors know about the Roadmap to Recovery program, R2R. Let them know about our website, because we are a very useful and unique resource. So thank you again. We'll be recording tonight's program. And so if you nod off, which I hope you don't, but if you have other things you need to do and you can't stay for the duration, you will be able to come back and watch it. But I encourage you to stick with us, because what we've done for tonight's program is to distill a whole lot of information down, boil it down to really the most critical parts, so that we can get you oriented to really navigate this unfamiliar sort of new normal that you're in. And of course, I want to say that we are all so sorry for your losses and the fact that you have to be here, that you are here, but we're here to help. So thanks for joining us. So United Policyholders is a 501c3. That means we're like the Red Cross or Sierra Club. We are in business to be an educational resource and an advocate for anyone who has bought insurance and needs to get a fair shake. But our Roadmap to Recovery program encompasses more than just insurance. We give guidance, we give encouragement, and we give a lot of technical information on financial matters, construction matters. So we've been doing this work since 1991. We have a good track record of improving disaster recovery in the communities where we are able to bring our resources. We are not for profit, we're not for sale. We don't take funding from insurance companies, so we can keep an independent voice to help people in your situation. Our funding comes from donations and grants, and we have a volunteer corps that has either personal, meaning they've been there, done that, lost home or had their home severely damaged, and came out the other side with some good strategies and info, or they are professionals who day in and day out, their business, their job is helping people with aspects of replacing a home or repairing a home and navigating the insurance claim process and all of the decisions that you have to make. Little bit of fine print. Tonight's workshop is intended to be information and general guidance, not legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we encourage you to consult an experienced attorney. We're going to actually help facilitate that next week. We'll have a follow-up to tonight where we will have some volunteers who are Colorado-based professionals and myself to help answer questions that you may have now or that you may have after you watch tonight's program. We don't endorse or warrant any of the sponsors that you'll find on our website or our volunteers, but obviously our goal here is to be useful and helpful to you. That is all. We don't sell anything. You can't hire us. You can't pay us. We are a good old-fashioned charity that really is here to help. And what we're bringing you tonight is through one of our 3 programs that focuses on information, tools, and guidance for valuing your losses, collecting insurance, making financial decisions, restoring your assets, and the quality of your life after a disaster. We call ourselves Team Up. That's our professional staff. Myself, I've got Carrie Waite, who's kind of in 2 roles with us. She's a volunteer and also a part-time staff. Also with us tonight are Val Brown and Carolyn Winter helping with logistics. Tonight's program, as I said, will be recorded, and it'll be on our website, and also our county partners that are with us will also help you find it so that you can share it or watch it another time. And as I said, our volunteers come from these 2 camps. They're either people who've been there, done that, or they're people who do this kind of stuff for a living and have bits of information they're willing to share because they are oriented to you, the consumer, and they have information that you can use. So that's me. Like I said, this has been my life's work to understand as much as I can about the insurance industry and then translate it for people who need the information and also to be your voice. Obviously, insurance companies have lots and lots of resources. They write the policies, they write the contracts, they govern a lot of the rules. And so we are here to keep a healthy balance for you. And this is not our first rodeo in Colorado. That picture on the top was when now Senator, but then Senator-elect, but then Governor Hickenlooper was in office. There we are, a number of our volunteers and friends in Colorado at the signing of the Homeowners Bill of Rights that we helped get through after going through the 4 Mile wildfire recovery, the High Park wildfire recovery, Waldo Canyon, Black Forest. So we have been in your state. We're based in California, but we've done a lot of work in Colorado. And that's why we have great friends that are with us here tonight, including one of our speakers, Gary Sanfason, who is based in Colorado and with whom we worked not once, but several times after disasters required Colorado residents to use our information to get back where they needed to be. And those are some of the events that was one of the local assistance centers that we had. And there's one of our volunteers' home being repaired. So if you're in Grand County, this is the website that you want to be visiting on a regular basis for the Troublesome Fire, where you will find resources to help you with debris removal and plan building issues and that sort of thing. I'm so pleased again to be partnering with Boulder County. Gary, thank you so much for being with us. If you want to just say a few words, we'll appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Amy, for having me, and actually thank you and UP for coming to Colorado and providing this free workshop. My name is Gary Sanfason. I'm the Disaster Recovery Manager for Boulder County. I've been in this role since 2010 when we had the 4 Mile Canyon fire and we lost 169 homes in that event. At that time, it was the largest, the most destructive wildfire in Colorado's history. Unfortunately, it's been surpassed, but we learned a lot. And one of the things I learned in that role of recovery was how challenging navigating the insurance claim process would be. And United Policyholders came and we brought them to the community, and over a course of a year or 2 years, to provide periodic updates and assistance. And I can tell you that this was one of the most significant interventions we made as a county on behalf of fire survivors. As unfortunately, the claims settlement process can be as traumatic or even worse than the actual fire, believe it or not, is what I learned from fire survivors. But United Policyholders was there every step of the way for folks and really provided that advocacy that people need to take on the big insurance company. So thank you, and I look forward to supporting you and all this work.
Thank you, Gary. And then we're also joined by our friends with Larimer County, with whom we worked in the past as well after wildfires. Lori Hodges, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so yeah, what's being shown on the screen are some of the resources for the Cameron Peak wildfire, as well as East Troublesome for the part that came into Larimer County. This fire, the Cameron Peak fire, is very different fire for us because of its duration. 114 days, I think it was, before it was contained. And because of that, and because we had several waves of the fire come through with different damages, our community is in various levels of recovery. Some have already cleaned up their property and they're kind of moving through the process. Others are just getting in right now and starting it. So it's been a really challenging event to try to manage, because we're dealing with both response as well as recovery at the same time, depending on which part of the fire was most impacted and when. So we do have a lot of resources out there, but I also know that it can be, information overload for folks. So kind of a one-stop shop for Larimer is that wildfire-resources page. It has a lot of tabs on it, so it's kind of your one-stop shop for wildfire information for the county. So if you have any questions, you can go there. We have a lot of good information, as well as phone numbers. We did provide the rebuilding phone number here for those who are looking for permitting or any kind of rebuilding efforts. We do have the disaster rebuild program that is really good for residents to look at. It gives some discounts for permitting, and it changes some timelines for folks to try to speed up the process for you. Also, anywhere along the way, you can always reach out to my office, Larimer OEM. We deal with recovery as well as the response phase, so we can help you with any questions you have. For the Larimer folks that might be on the phone, I've probably talked to all of you already since I did most of the calls for the damage assessments. So yeah, I do appreciate you guys having this webinar tonight. The majority of our questions that we do have are, building or insurance related, and it can be really tricky. Most people in their life don't go through a major home claim in their lifetime, or maybe they just have something small along the way. This is a very different process. So it's great to have you guys here. Thank you for having me. And if I can help anyway, just holler.
Thank you so much, Lori. And yes, we are very, very well aware of the try not to overwhelm people with information. So, that's one of the reasons that we're recording tonight, because we want to we understand that most disaster survivors aren't sleeping very well, and it's just not, no one's at their peak mental state anyway with COVID and everything else. So, we just want to kind of draw the outlines for all of you of, sort of, these are the stops along your road that you're going to be hitting, and just try to share some really practical ideas so that you have a bit more clarity as to how the process is supposed to work, what kind of problems you may encounter. We hope that you don't. But then what are some of the resources that are there for you if those problems come up? So United Policyholders has a library that we've curated for the 2020 Colorado fires. They are, this library it's not specific to East Troublesome or Left Hand or any of it. It's just, it's fair. It's got lots and lots of good information applicable to all the fires and relevant in the state of Colorado. So we encourage you to visit that page on a regular basis, just like you would visit your county's page wherever you live. This is a resource our organization puts out. It's the Little Yellow Book. We've been publishing it. It's been cherished by many disaster survivors over the years, and we have copies of them. It's actually good for people who are not as comfortable with the internet, because it has the whole second half of the book is designed to help you with your contents inventory and sort of jogging your memory and that sort of thing. And while there's lots of resources on our website for that, and those of you who are comfortable shopping on the internet can get pricing to help you, this is a sort of a physical object that you can carry around with you. If you would like a copy, We were distributing them at the local assistance centers, thanks to a couple of our volunteers and businesses in Colorado that support us, and also Gary, who's been such a good friend over the years. So thank you for that. And you can email info@uphelp.org if you want a copy of the book. Next, looks like we got a typo there. Wednesday, it's actually Tuesday, the 15th. We will be holding a next Tuesday. Sorry about that. December 15th, we'll be holding a Q&A where all the questions that you may store up from tonight or questions that friends and family, neighbors may have, you'll be able to come on at 5:30 and you can register. It's free. And we will be going one-on-one and answer all those questions. Some other sources of help, the Department of Insurance in Colorado. You have an agency. There's a couple layers, but what you need under this thing called DORA, the regulatory affairs, but what you want is the insurance department that regulates insurers in California. And I'm going to show you their website in a minute. But we have volunteers in Colorado who went through previous wildfires and are available to be a source of support for you. Your insurance company should be a great source of support for you, and we certainly hope that they are. But obviously, there are issues with insurance. That's why we exist. That's why we're here. And then reputable professionals in the area are a source of support. And you may need construction help. You may need claim help. You may need legal help. You may need air quality help if you have a partial loss. And we have information for you there on our website and through this is not the last workshop we're going to be doing. This is only the first, and we're planning to do a series. Disaster case managers, they're like social workers. They're probably not even in place yet, but there will be some of those professionals available in your community. And then, of course, your elected officials, your local, state, and federal officials are there for you if you need them. And then FEMA. So all of you should have registered, no matter what your political opinion may be about anything having to do with government. The fact is that registering for a FEMA number is a smart thing to do if you've been hit by a serious loss. You may end up wanting to apply for a loan in the future, SBA, very low interest loan. You may want to apply for a grant. It's free. There's no downside to registering with FEMA. Here is the Colorado Department of Insurance's website. They are part of DORA, and there's their toll-free number. And they have, yeah.
Sorry, this is Lori.
Sure.
We have not gotten a federal declaration yet. So if anybody's wondering why they haven't registered, we are working on that right now with the state. And as soon as we have that information, we'll send it out to everybody. And the Small Business Administration declaration comes with that other declaration.
I understand. Okay. I did not realize that. Did Grand get theirs?
It's all joined in one declaration.
All in one.
Larimer
Okay.
and Grand are going in as one.
Okay. All right. So that's important, Lori. Thank you. Again, I think you can, I'm not even sure if you can register even if there hasn't been a federal declaration or not. So that will be a question we'll answer next Tuesday. DORA has a division of consumer services. They process consumer complaints. So if you are having trouble, some of the things that DORA will be helpful if you're having trouble getting a copy of your insurance policy, for example, which is very important that you start this process by having a complete copy of your policy with all the attachments that are part of that contract. A policy is a legal contract, so you need the whole thing so that you know fully what's available to you in that policy. And they can help you with that if you haven't gotten it. And they can help you if you haven't gotten an adjuster assigned, or your adjuster is not responding. They can be helpful with that. And again, they are a free resource funded by your tax dollars. So, okay, we're going to take a deep breath here. We've only just sort of given you kind of an overview of some of the sources of help. Now we're going to get into what we really want to communicate to you tonight. And that is that your home insurance is a vehicle. We'd like you to think about it as a vehicle to get you back as close as possible to where you were before your loss. But we want you to understand that it won't drive itself. You know, you see a lot of ads on TV for insurance, and it shapes our mindset. You know, we see the ad where the house burns and then the reel goes backward and it's suddenly back again. And you see Flo, or you see the one with the magic wand coming in, is there they are. Those are ads. But insurance is a business situation. It's a business negotiation, and you paid for coverage and good claim service, and we're here to help you get both. But just like you might have gotten from a comment Lori made, when you have a fender bender, usually insurance works just great. As long as there's not a whole lot of money involved. When there's a lot of money involved, insurance companies, they have to dot their I's and cross their T's. So they have a lot of processes in place with larger losses to avoid paying for things that they don't have to pay for, and to sort of control things. And so even though a disaster claim, you think, boy, they should make it a lot easier for people. And sometimes they do, but the rules are the same, even though you had nothing to do with the fire whatsoever. They still won't put you through your paces. They will still make you jump through some hoops. And that's why we're here. Settling a total loss insurance claim is time consuming, and it's not for everyone. And when I say that, I mean, if you've already been thinking about hiring help, if you've been thinking about hiring a public adjuster, or you have a friend who's an attorney who says they're going to help you, there's no shame in asking for or getting help. But we're here to remind you that you already paid for what you're entitled to from your insurance company. We want to make sure you get it, but we also want to make sure that that it's not for everyone to kind of put in the time and have to do all the work of coordinating estimates and going to the loss site for meetings and with your mortgage company and your insurance company. And if it's not for you, you shouldn't feel bad. But if you get help, we want you to make sure you get the right help and that you don't waste money or time. So I already covered this, that ads are ads, and we encourage you to really just be practical about the situation. That yes, you are a loss victim, and there's a lot of empathy for you out there in the world. A lot of people that are rooting for you, including myself and my team. But you do need to realize that when there's a lot of money at stake, the insurance company has processes, like I said, they have procedures in place to limit how much they're going to pay. And so you're not on the same, you don't have the same incentive that they have, right? They want to minimize what they pay. You want them to maximize. And so just remember, an adjuster may be friendly, but they're not your friend. They're a trained negotiator. So we're here to help you do the same thing. So what are your options when your home has been destroyed? Well, you can rebuild the house as it was. You can rebuild a different house. You can buy elsewhere, or you can rebuild elsewhere. And for each of those options, your insurance company is going to want to handle it differently. But from our perspective, you want to focus on what it would cost to put that house back the way it was, stick for stick, board for board, and every dollar that's available to you in that policy from all the little pieces of it, you want to make sure you max out, because we know that you're going to need that no matter what your income level is. So you're going to need that policy. You're going to need what's called the declarations page, which is the front page that has your name, your lender. If you have a mortgage, it's got a whole bunch of numbers and codes to sort of show what in that contract. The cat wants to get in on the action. Okay, so we suggest you make a working copy of that policy that you can write notes on, and then keep one clean copy. And we have a sample letter on our website for requesting it if you haven't gotten it yet from your insurance company. And everything I'm going to cover tonight, you can you can watch this again, or you can, if you want to watch our video on how to read an insurance policy, we go into great detail. And that video is available again, free of charge for you to watch at your convenience. Couple things I want you to remember when it comes to insurance: knowledge equals power and money. The more you understand about your insurance benefits, your rights, and the value of your losses, the more benefits you'll recover to rebuild your home and life, and the smoother your claim will go. Okay, we're just going to say goodbye to the pussycat. Hold on. Okay, there you go. All right, COVID love. Okay, pace yourself, don't rush. This is hard advice to follow. We know you want to get home as quickly as you can, but we've seen people make mistakes when they rush, you know, hiring the first contractor that came and made a sales pitch to them, or, you know, buying the first house that they found nearby, and then thinking that they wished that they hadn't. So, you know, time is on your side here, because you know, total loss is it's going to take you a while. You know, we really encourage you to kind of hunker down, you know, find a comfortable place to live, and you know, take this information in, and then, you know, let it kind of steep a little bit before you make major decisions. Very, very disorienting to be in your situation. And it generally takes people months after being hit with a trauma like a wildfire before you really, that fog goes away and you can think clearly again and sleep well again. And it takes time to calculate a total or large loss. We're talking about houses that you know, have in them a lifetime's worth of possessions, and it takes a while to really tally that stuff up. And also, you know, a lot of people lose all their plans, and they can't find plans, and there's not records of the house, and so you're going to have to kind of reconstruct it from whatever sources that you can to figure out what you're entitled to on your dwelling settlement with your insurance company. And those things don't happen overnight. So really pace yourself. What's a good place to start? Figuring out how much insurance you have. Is it enough? 2/3 of the people that our organization help find themselves underinsured. They don't have enough insurance on their dwelling. And that means you have to be somewhat creative if it's not your fault. Or, you know, if there is somebody, we're going to talk about that later, whether there's a remedy if you're underinsured. But right now, we're just talking about where you want to be focusing in these early months. And that is on figuring out how much you would need to replace the home you had. How much insurance should you have had if you had been properly insured? Do you even want to rebuild the same home? Hardly anyone wants to exactly rebuild the same house. Usually people want to downsize, they want to do something different. But before you start, you know, going down that road, you need to first stop and figure out that cost to replace what you had, because that's what your insurance company owes you. And if you start talking about oranges when you haven't figured out yet about apples, it just doesn't, it causes delays. So remember, you gotta price out those apples before you start shopping for oranges, okay? So do you have a mortgage on the home? Oh, and then if you're underinsured, what are your options? All right. A few guiding principles. We say learn to earn, meaning there's a lot of lingo with insurance, you know, words that are not familiar to you. We talk about depreciation, actual cash value, holdbacks. That's the way insurers, that's one of those hoops that insurers will make people jump through, is they say, we're only going to pay you a certain amount for your dwelling and your stuff, a depreciated amount, the used value as was. And once you replace it, then you can come back and ask us for the difference, the replacement value, right? So if you have a replacement value policy. So, but this whole process of when your insurer will pay and how much they're going to pay can be very confusing. And again, that's why we're here, to try to make it a little bit simpler for you so that you can navigate it, and you can. Most people are able to do this Lots of people do need to get help though, and there's no shame in that at all. We really encourage you to be proactive in calculating the full extent and value of replacing everything you lost. If you just sit back and think, well, I saw those ads, my insurer is going to pay everything I'm entitled to. I mean, that is just, those are ads, right? And the truth is, it's your assets. You have the biggest stake in making sure that they get restored, okay? So we're just here sort of in a with a trust but verified message. So we're not saying pick a fight with your insurance company. We're saying do the math. Give your insurance company and your adjuster a chance to do the right thing, but don't be a pushover. Ask for what you need, use your leverage. We're going to talk about where you get leverage from, which is you get leverage from the laws that the insurance companies have to follow. You get leverage from people like Gary and Lori and your Department of Insurance, your insurance commissioner Conway. You get leverage from the fact that there are rules that govern how the insurer is supposed to be treating you. And then get help when you need it. We encourage you to speak up, we call it. That means present your requests clearly and in writing. And we have lots of samples we offer on our website to help you do that. Explain what you need, when you need it, and why you're entitled to it in writing. And this is so important. And it's really not as hard as it sounds. Keep a claim diary. If you don't like the word diary, you think it's, you know, for little girls, okay, call it a journal. But keep a record, keep a, find a little notebook or buy a notebook and write down, if you can, every day, the date and whatever significant happened relating to your loss. Spoke to B&G Construction, Gary, write down his number, can come out Tuesday, whatever, and when you're talking to the insurance company, write down the name of the adjuster, write down their email address, write down their phone number, just to help yourself stay on track. And then use that working copy of the policy that I suggested that you make. And anytime the insurance adjuster says, oh no, we don't pay for that, you can say, can you please show me where it says that in my policy? Why do we insist that you keep, or we recommend, we don't insist on anything, we just encourage you. Why to keep a diary or journal? Because it's very likely the first adjuster assigned to your claim will be replaced and you will be dealing with others over time. And also because creating a written record prevents delays and frustration and is a nice paper trail of how the insurer is handling your claim. What things have been agreed to? Has your temporary living situation been approved, and have they agreed that they're going to be paying the landlord directly, or however that's going to work? You want to write that down in your diary. That's going to help you moving forward. So I already told you why this is essential, but it's also, this is your way of being the squeaky wheel that gets paid. You are helping the adjusters and the insurance company do their job, because you remember they have a lot of claims that came in this year. California got hit very badly. Colorado got hit. So chances are the adjuster that's handling your loss has a lot of other claims. So you can help yourself and them by trusting but verifying, by doing some of your own math to make sure that your loss is being valued properly and your benefits are being paid properly and in full. This is just a reminder about best practices so that the insurance company and the adjuster sees you as not like that irrational, pain that sends 5-page single-space letters there that they are inclined to usually ignore, but that you are that professional-ish claimant that knows their stuff and is going to be treated fairly in a very business-like way. So when you write letters to the insurance company, you keep it professional. You be concise and to the point. Again, no diatribes where you're venting. Try not to vent. The insurance company didn't start the fire. They may be frustrating you, but the most important thing you can do is keep it professional and keep it clear. What is it that you're asking them for? And why do you feel you're entitled to it? And that sort of thing. Okay. Now, you're going to have to, if you have a mortgage, the mortgage company's name is going to be on those insurance checks for the dwelling. So when you get a check from the insurance company, if you may have already gotten one, it's going to have the name of the property owner, the insured, and it's going to have a lender's name. And in order to cash that check or deposit that check, you're going to have to get the lender to sign off, or the lender's going to say that money's going into a construction account. We'll dole it out when we see those progress reports on the situation. So that's something you're going to have to navigate, and that's something that the Department of Insurance may be able to help you with as you go along. We suggest opening a separate bank account so that you can keep track of your normal finances and the finances related to your loss recovery. And then the lender's name should not be on your contents checks or your ALE or your trees, landscaping, only dwelling related benefits. So if there's a mistake, you go to the insurance company and you say you need to reissue this check, please take the lender's name off. It doesn't belong on there. It can sometimes be a pain to get the lender, to get to somebody at the mortgage company who has got the authority to sign off and on those insurance checks. But again, that's something that if you are hitting a wall, you call DORA, call the Division of Insurance and seek their help. A couple little ideas for your ALE. That's one of those pieces of lingo I'm translating for you. So one of those buckets of coverage in your home insurance policy is to cover your temporary living expenses that you are incurring, the expenses you have because you have lost the use of your home, right? You can't use your home, you can't live there. You need someplace else to live and cook and store your stuff, right? So insurance companies use different labels for this bucket of coverage. Some of them, the coverage for those expenses, some of them call it additional living expense, ALE, we shorten it to. Some of them call it loss of use, means the same thing. Some of them call it temporary living expense coverage. Doesn't matter what the label is, it's a bucket of coverage to cover those expenses that you're incurring now because you've lost the use of the home. You can try some creativity with ALE. If you say you want to, let's say you want to buy a fifth wheel, or you want to buy a tiny home, or you want to buy an RV, you can make a request. They're not obligated to say yes, but it never hurts to ask and say, it would be cheaper for you, insurance company, and pleasant for me to live in my own place instead of paying rent to somebody else. And so if you do the math, and let's say you have 12 months of ALE coming to you, of benefits available, see if you can negotiate to, instead of paying those funds in rent, to purchase a temporary shelter, maybe even on your land, so you can be there while construction is happening. But again, the insurance company is not obligated to do anything that's not in that policy. And so the worst that can happen is they say no. Now, FRV versus as incurred means fair rental value. So that's a standard. Some insurance companies for your rent, instead of saying, okay, you had a 3-bedroom and now you're living in a 3-bedroom rental. So your house would have rented for, let's say, I don't know, whatever, $2,000 a month, let's say. And instead of saying, okay, now you can find a place that's $2,000 a month, you can negotiate with them, say, okay, either I want my ALE to be paid on the basis of what my house would have rented for, or they can pay you on the basis of whatever the rent is at the current place. Because sometimes if you're in a fire area, it's pretty hard to find a place that's equivalent to what you had. And so sometimes you do have to find a place that's a little more expensive. These are all negotiable items. So the best news I can give you, in addition to the fact that my organization is here for you, and so are a lot of other people, like the county officials that are here with us tonight. But there are some incredible people out there that have been in that, went through a home, losing a home, and are now volunteers with our organization. You have many past and current fellow travelers on your road to wildfire recovery. You know, some people are able to keep a sense of humor, some people find that hard. And I say, whatever path works for you is the right path for you. So one of those current and fellow travelers, Carrie Waite, is with us tonight. And what I love so much about people who've been there, done that, and are willing to pay forward the lessons that they've learned, is that they are these special people that are able to deal with their own pain, but also help other people, which to me is very inspiring. So Carrie is with us. There she is on the left in the blue dress, and then there in the middle, getting probably an award, which I'm sure she deserved. Carrie had her home damaged in a wildfire, and just really got kind of the bug to be an advocate and a friend to people who are in that situation. Carrie has a lot of knowledge about partial losses because that was what she had, what we sometimes call standing home or partial. But Carrie has been with our organization as both a volunteer and also as a part-time employee on and off now for many years. And so Carrie, it's just so much my privilege to be able to have you with us to share some of your homegrown and also professional nuggets of wisdom, or pearls as you like to call them.
Thank you. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Carrie.
And hello, everyone. And I like to say welcome to the club that really no one wants to volunteer to be a member of, but here we are. And my story is that 8 years ago, I was living in Mountain Shadows in Colorado Springs when the Waldo Canyon wildfire blew into our neighborhood and took out, somewhere between 350 and 400 homes. Ultimately, there were probably closer to 400 that were totaled. And the total losses, obviously do and should get the bulk of the attention initially, but everyone in the neighborhood and the community is impacted. And my home was a standing home, but many of my dear friends, I lived in that neighborhood for over 25 years when the fire hit. So, I think my sons determined that 28 of their friends from school lost their homes. It was a life-changing experience for sure, and for everyone, and for me. And there will be silver linings, and you will get through it. And there are resources and lots of help to do that along the way. I guess that's the primary message that I want to share tonight. I remember when we were looking, looking for help, we found United Policyholders through the Boulder fire, actually, that had happened a few years before. And so most of the advice I would give has already been given, but I'm going to go back through it. Amy, could you go back one slide for me?
Sure.
Thank you. So, we're here to give you hope and empower you, but we want you to know whether your home was a vacation home, whether it was your main residence, whether it's still standing or it's totally gone, everyone is impacted and your journey is going to take a while. And the impact to the community and to you does throw you off base. So it's really important to, first of all, take care of yourselves. Okay, thank you, Amy. The next slide, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So I want to go through a couple of things. We like to say the devil and dollars are in the details. I know you've heard from Amy, and you will hear again, to chronicle and document, but just make it a habit. Obsessively chronicle and document everything. Take every receipt since the day of the fire and stick it in a folder or in that notebook, and document every conversation you have with a helper or with your insurer. And then take videos and pictures of your loss. You know, there'll be different helpers that might help you sift through your property. You're going to be feeling some pressure to go get the debris taken care of. But there, especially if you have a standing home or maybe a partially damaged barn or house or things like that, before they're taken down, you want to document things, because that documentation can be helpful in establishing the extent of your loss financially. Also, the other little note that I want to make is to encourage each of you, as you're looking to learn this new lingo and to work the claim, to remember to trust yourself too, and to tune into your intuition and your critical eye when you're assessing damages, or when you're determining if you're going to hire someone to help you, whether it's going to be your builder, a public adjuster, or anyone else, even the person that does the debris removal for you, that company. Cleaning companies that might come in and help clean your standing home. You want to use all of the due diligence and then some that you would use in a non-emergency situation, and thoroughly vet everyone. There are resources online with United Policyholders to guide you in doing that. And so trust yourself, but trust your instincts, but use the resources, and remember to make the time to go through those steps before you sign any permissions over to a contractor. Thank you, Amy. I'm going to kind of move on to cover the partial loss pearls now more specifically, just for a few minutes. This is an important one, and I know that many people here are in different parts of their recovery. Maybe your fire was in September, maybe it was in November. But try not to move back into that standing home until you are sure and feel comfortable that it's safe to re-inhabit. ALE approvals can be difficult. That additional living or temporary living expense can be difficult if your home is standing to get the insurer to approve. But once you've moved a back-in home, it can be even more difficult to get their approval for you to move out. There can be unseen residues from everything that burned in the forest and the homes and the car and the garage and everything else around you. And those residues can settle inside of the standing home, in the soft goods, in anything that's porous. And those things can be harmful to your health. So there should be some guidance on your county websites to help you look into some of that. And I encourage you to do that. It's difficult to live in the midst of a remediation inside of your home, and insurers may be more engaged to get your recovery going on your remediation if they're paying additional living expenses for you to live outside of your home while the work is being done. So those are some pearls. You may already be back in your home. I learned some of these things the hard way, but and that can be managed. But in the meantime, again, I'm going to repeat what Amy said. That's so important. You may feel really thrown off your game, but speak up for yourself. Some of us have a tendency to want, out of respect, to rely on the professionals, the insurance adjuster that the insurance company sends, or the mortgage company, or the mitigation company that comes to clean your carpets, or whatever. Don't rely just on them. Like Amy said, you really need to drive your own car to get home and restored. It matters more to you than it does to them. And no one knows your home or body like you do. And there are going to be more than one adjuster per household, that's for sure. I'm ready for the next slide, Amy. Thank you. So on this, I just really want to encourage you again. Don't take no for an answer if your gut tells you otherwise. It may be that your adjuster will come and present you with what they believe is a fair settlement. You do not have to sign anything over at any point in these initial months. And if you feel like you're not getting along with your adjuster, if you feel there's an oppositional energy, even though you're being polite and persistent, you can always elevate your request up the chain of management. And I encourage you to do that. That has been useful to many people. And in asking for help, I want to remind you that each other, your group of neighbors who have similar losses, your family members, your friends, especially in a time of COVID when it's so hard to get outside help in or to want to be around other people, allow yourself to be the one who gets the help. Sometimes it's hard for some of us to do that. But you can assign small duties to different people and let them come into your life and help you. And that can be a real gift to them too. It's how the wave of goodwill keeps moving. Some of the best friends I've made in my life, and some of the real silver linings, have been the people I've allowed to help me and who have allowed me to help them. Again, take care of yourself and your family. Find comfort, even in tiny things that seem tiny, at least relatively speaking. Wherever you're living in your temporary living situation, do your best for yourself and for each of your family members to set up some sort of comfort routines you're used to in your previous life, in the home you lost or that is damaged, whether it's having a cup of coffee by a window in a comfy chair every morning, or it's reading stories at night, whatever those little grounding things are, taking a walk nearby, do those rituals because they can calm your autonomic nervous system and help you be able to get more back into your body and your mind so that you can stay in the driver's seat. It's such a privilege to be able to be here for other Coloradans given the circumstances, and you will make it to the other side of this, and some of you will become volunteers and speakers for UP, I'm sure. And again, I thank UP for being here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carrie. Okay, we're going to take another deep breath. We're going to dive into some nuts and bolts of figuring out how much money your insurance policy should be generating for you in funds to restore your assets. So just there's the beach. Okay, we're not on it. Here's a declarations page. This is an example of what this key part of your insurance policy that you need to find, get your hands on, and get a basic understanding of. It might not look just like this, but it'll have, generally it's probably going to have those 4 sections, A, B, C, D, with a dollar figure. And then you'll see that list below that is forms and endorsements. Those are those are, I'd say, details of the policy. They could be this policy, the person has $1,000 deductible. This person has a limited home replacement cost. Those things are very important. You heard Carrie talk about the dollars and the devils and the details. That's what she's talking about, right? So where you see that red circle, this sample policy, this person had $300,000 and $200 in coverage for their dwelling, but they probably had more. In fact, they definitely had more than $300,200. How do we know? Because we look down the page and we see that they had a limited home replacement cost endorsement that gave them an extra 150% of coverage A. Okay, that's coverage A. So they actually have more than 300,000. And that's what, when I'm talking about doing your own math, trusting but verifying, I'm here to tell you that the adjuster who is handling your loss, they might have been selling shoes last month, or they might be a lifetime insurance adjuster. You don't know. You can certainly ask them. But what I'm trying to tell you is you cannot rely entirely on the adjuster to tell you what the insurance company owes you. If I could have one sentence that I could tell you, it would be that. Don't just rely on the insurance adjuster to tell you what funds are available to you under the policy that you paid for, right? That's the whole purpose of tonight and of our Roadmap to Recovery program. It's to help you make sure that you get everything that's entitled to you, because I mean, insurance is a great source of money when you've had a loss. There's nothing like it. You know, federal aid or loans, you know, that have to be paid back are okay, but even better, money that comes directly from your insurance company that results from you having planned ahead and bought insurance. Okay? So this person also has building code upgrade coverage of an extra 75,000. So what you see is not necessarily all that you get, right? Everything that you get is in that policy and a little bit in the law, but mostly you're going to see it right here. And that's the math you have to do. So what are the policy benefits to replace your dwelling? Your dwelling coverage there, that A, B, your other structures, okay? Extended replacement, we saw that there, down there, that 150% in this example. Debris removal, which is usually about 5% of each bucket, or of the dwelling contents and other structures. Other structures are things like garages and outbuildings. So you got to do some math to make sure that you know all the dollars that you have access to. And then most policies have a little inflation provision that increases the coverage by some small percent to adjust for inflation. If you have a mobile or manufactured home, you're generally going to have those same 4 buckets. And then you're going to have issues typically with the value of replacing your destroyed home, just like a stick-built home. But it's particularly challenging for mobile and manufactured homes because of replacement cost versus actual cash value, meaning the insurer will depreciate the value of the as was used home. And often you're challenged because you can't buy, you don't want to buy a used one. You need to buy a new one. But we're going to get into that in a future workshop. So this is an example of what your deck page might look like. Deck page is short for declarations page. Again, that's the map to the policy. This is what a typical mobile or manufactured home policy deck page will look like. It looks similar to a stick-built home in that it tells you those buckets, A, B, C, D, and then it has those same list of those extras. The endorsements is that fancy word that insurance companies use. Sometimes they use riders, but endorsements is the technical word for customizations to your policy. These are things that you may or may not have. Okay, so this person has, again, you can see they've got the extended replacement coverage, which is great because that gives you some more money. And those are the kind of things you want to look for. Extended replacement coverage is an endorsement. It's an add-on. Hopefully you have it. Colorado law that we fought to put in place requires your insurer to have offered it to you. If they didn't, that's a question that you can ask next week on the 15th when we have a lawyer and two public adjusters that are going to be answering questions. And that's a technical question. If you don't have extended replacement coverage, it's worth finding out whether it was offered to you and whether there's proof that you rejected it. Because why? Because after disasters, as I said earlier, 2/3 of the people we survey come up short on their dwelling coverage. They don't have enough insurance. Long story, we're not going to go into why that is. It just is. And it is very unfortunate. And one of the ways that insurers try to make up for the fact that they chronically underinsure homes is they sell this extender, or they should be selling it, that gives you extra money. Because yes, sometimes after disasters, costs go up. There's something called demand surge, meaning that when everybody wants lumber in the region at the same time, then whoever's selling the lumber can charge more for it because they know more people want it, or they have to get more in and it costs more to get it in quickly, all that stuff. It's called demand surge. Yes, sometimes underinsurance is because people, because it costs more to put houses back after a disaster because there's a lot of demand for the construction services and materials. But there's also a problem. The insurance industry does have a problem. They are not insuring dwellings to value as much as they should, but we have not been able to fix that yet, but we're working on it. But hopefully you have extended replacement coverage. Here's an example of what it would look like. That if it turns out that your home wasn't fully insured, then there's an extra bucket of money for you available. But again, you have to do the math to see how big is that extra bucket. Is it 50%? Is it 150%? What is it? And these are some of the examples of what it may look like in your policy, okay? For this extended ERC, extended replacement cost. As you can see, insurers seem to like to use their own language. This example, I believe this is State Farm. They use this terminology, option ID, increased dwelling limit. That's how they describe it, but it's the same thing. It's an extra bucket of coverage available to you to replace your dwelling or repair your dwelling if the amount of insurance on your dwelling is not enough. Okay. You may also have an extra bucket for expenses to bring your replaced home up to current building standards, codes, right? Wiring is typically, maybe your house had old wiring, or maybe your house had windows that are not allowed to be used now, or they're no longer safe, that kind of thing. So again, this is extra money you may have in your policy for an expense that you may incur. Your county, as much as Lori, they're trying to bend over backwards to make it easier for you to rebuild. Same thing with Boulder. They, very often the counties, and they're doing this, they want you to be able to rebuild. They're empathetic. They feel for you. They want you to stay. That's why they're here tonight helping out. But again, they do want you to be safe. So they do need to enforce their building codes. And so because insurers say, well, we only insured it as it was, if you have to make upgrades, we're not going to pay. Hopefully you have this extra bucket of coverage to cover those upgrades, those improvements, betterments that otherwise the insurance company would not want to pay for. If you don't have this coverage, you are going to have to pay for these things out of pocket. Okay. So what you want to look for are words like additional amount of insurance. All right. Here's another example of what it might look like. Building ordinance or law coverage in your policy. Okay. Another bucket, B, other structures. That's your Structures that are not physically attached, such as a detached garage, a barn, a pool house, a pool itself, fencing, a gazebo, a guest house, a pump house. Those should be insured through your other structures. And if you have extended replacement, hopefully it will apply to that as well and give you more money towards that, right? Some policies limit your coverage for your other structures to 10% of what the coverage you have on your dwelling, okay? These are some examples of how your policy may look in terms of the bucket of coverage for your separate structures, your barns, your guest houses, etc. Okay, hopefully you have some extra coverage for debris removal. Every policy is different. Some of them have a dollar amount. Some of them give you 5% of whatever the insurance amount is on your dwelling. And you have options for removing debris. Maybe your county has a program to coordinate so that all the houses on your street can have one contractor come with their trucks and remove the debris house by house. And maybe there's a cost saving there, or maybe you do it on your own. However you do it safely, and follow our suggestions on making sure that you don't hire just the cheapest guy that comes around, because you may regret it. You know, they may not have good safety precautions. And when it comes to fire debris, you want to do it safely. There's all kinds of toxic stuff in there. And you know, by now, I'm assuming most of you have been out to see the property, as painful as it is. But if you haven't, and there's still debris hasn't been removed, get out there with a camera. If you can't stomach it, get a friend to go out there and take lots of pictures of the debris, because it may help jog your memory if you need help on doing your inventory of your contents. All right, but of course use proper safety precautions if you do go out. And if there may be charitable groups that are helping sift. We have a Colorado volunteer that found their wedding ring in their debris. Pretty rare, pretty amazing. Okay, so again, you should have a bucket of coverage for debris removal. So for calculating your maximum limits, you're going to have to do some math. This is just an example. You look at your coverage A bucket, you apply the inflation adjustment with whatever formulas in the policy. This is just an example of how one policy would increase it. And then you do that math, all right, to adjust your coverage for inflation. Then you look at your extended replacement. How does that adjust? That's going to bring you up. If that's going to bring you up some more, of course, you don't want to leave those dollars on the table. Same thing with debris removal. You want to do that math yourself. And if you can't, get somebody who's better at math than you to do it. And we will have some people on the 15th that are very good at that sort of math, helping answer questions. We encourage you to make a chart once you do all that math, so you know all the dollars you got available to work with for getting your assets restored, right? This is just an example. It'd be great if everybody had that much. Most people don't. This is a California example, so you know everything's expensive out here. Okay, establishing a fair replacement value for your dwelling. That is task number one for a lot of people. You know, the adjuster may come out and say, "Oh, I've done this Exactimate estimate," which is a software program that calculates rebuild costs and repair costs. It's not that it's inherently wrong, but it's just like any other software. You know, computers don't build houses, builders build houses, right? So if the adjuster is using this computer program, it's only going to be as accurate as the information that the adjuster put in about your specific home and the pricing in your area per square foot or for the different materials that make up your home, okay? So we recommend trust but verify, right? If the adjuster comes at you with an Exactimate estimate or an estimate from a contractor that they say is willing to do the job for that amount, trust but verify. maybe that's not the builder you want. And I'm going to tell you in a minute that you're not obligated to hire anybody except the person that you want to rebuild your home if you decide to go that way. Okay. But you may have to push back and say to the adjuster, I don't think that estimate is right. So there are some sources to help you establish a fair replacement value for your dwelling. Very, very important. Okay. We talk about the scoop on scope. All that means is when you're trying to get that fair replacement value, you got to start with the scope of the loss. And that means how many square foot of living space was in that house? How much lumber? How much carpeting? How many windows? What was the quality of the countertops? What was the quality of the flooring? How many square feet of carpeting? How many gallons of paint? You know, how many paintbrushes? I mean, that's how nitpicky an accurate scope can be. And that's what that computer program will spit out. You know, so an exactimate estimate, it looks incredibly fancy because it's like an inch thick because they go through every single line item, right? We don't have time tonight and I don't want to overwhelm you. All I want you to understand is the best way to establish a fair replacement value for your dwelling is to have an accurate scope prepared. And most people can't do that themselves. So that's either going to be something that you're going to get a public adjuster to do, or that's something that you're going to get a builder to do, or a construction estimator to do with you so that you have a good basis for apples to apples on the estimate. So scope is size, shape, quantity, quality. Estimate is price. Two different things. You need them both, but in order to get an accurate price, you need an accurate scope. Couple more things before we get to the end. And thank you so much for staying with us tonight. Really appreciate your attention. When you're interacting with an adjuster or a representative of your insurance company, 2 words describe the approach that we recommend that's most likely to get you what you need. Polite assertiveness. I'm a force to be reckoned with, but I'm not being a jerk. Please take me seriously. Should you expect a fight with your insurance company? No. Some claims go smoothly from beginning to end. We hope yours does. But when large dollars are at stake, disputes do arise on a fairly regular basis. Getting informed about commonly disputed items will help you avoid problems and keep on moving forward. So fair valuation of your losses is what you're entitled to. Lowballing is pretty common. Especially with large dollar losses, that's where the insurance company undervalues your loss. Maybe they undervalue the scope, leave out a bathroom, leave out the fact that you had, a stone fireplace and they just put in a standard brick fireplace, that kind of thing. That could be lowballing, could be on purpose, could be by mistake. But again, why would they? For the same reason anybody in a large dollar business transaction makes a low opening offer. They're hoping that they can get away with that and move on. How do you counteract it? With documentation. You counteract it not with sending them the 5-page single space, you guys are crooks and you're trying to cheat me, right? That letter, if it even gets read, puts you in the pile of people they don't want to deal with, right? You want to stay in the pile of people that they want to deal with because you are the policyholder that is informed and that's focusing on getting a fair settlement and moving on. Okay. Give your insurance company a chance to do the right thing, but don't be a pushover. We're here. We've told you over and over what the real scoop is. What your real situation is in many cases is that you may have to fight to get every dollar. But maybe don't even think about it as a fight. Just think about it as work. All right. You have many, many rights under Colorado law. Colorado law gives you all kinds of rights. Hopefully you don't need to become an expert in all this, but I want you to know that you have these rights, right? Because that's part of where your leverage comes from, your power to get a fair outcome here on your claim. All right. So all these, we're gonna be going into these in more detail as we go through the next few months. Kerry, who's based in Colorado, is there, and we will be doing these virtual COVID era workshops for you, going deeper into these details, but I just am giving you the overview, all right? Colorado law allows you, gives you the right to be paid for your covered losses in a timely way, okay? And there's all kinds of details in the law about that you have to get a year's worth of your temporary rent. They should have offered you 2 years of coverage. You have a full year after you run out of temporary rent to still claim the difference between that used price that they pay you and then the replacement price that to replace that item that they owe you. All right. So it takes time to buy stuff. You don't know where you're going to live. You're not going to buy a couch right away until you know how big the room is that the couch is going to go in. So that's why we fought to get these laws through in Colorado to make your life a little easier, because we've had so much experience in Colorado with wildfires and some of the challenges that made it hard for people to just keep on moving forward on that road to recovery. So these are some of the rights that you have under Colorado law, and we'll be reminding you of those. And there are these bulletins that your insurance commissioner, you have a great insurance commissioner, Mike Conway, very consumer-oriented guy. And he's been putting out these bulletins. Here's one that, that relates to how they're supposed to be handling your claim rising from a disaster. Here's one that says that your insurer should be offering you a third of the coverage that you have on your stuff, your contents, requiring you to make that itemized inventory. Now, that was a concession that we agreed to, or we didn't agree to. The legislature did that. We wanted it to be 80% when we were in Denver in the State House lobbying for the homeowners bill. We wanted them to have to pay you 80% of your contents coverage without making you itemized, but it ended up a compromise at 30. Frankly, I would hate to see anybody take a third of what they're entitled to. That's why our organization has so many resources to make it easy for you. If they make you itemize, you can do it. And we have lots of ways to help you do that. Okay, so here are some of the laws. Here are the bulletins. You can find all of these things at our special library that we put together for you, uphelp.org/Colorado. We make it easy for you to find it, right? You'll find these bulletins. This is the one that says that they can't force you to use the contractor that they like. And then there are some special rules during COVID to help you if you're having trouble paying your premiums on time, or if there are delays in you submitting proof of your claim. There are some, this bulletin can help give you reasons to ask your insurer to cooperate more fully. Again, under insurance, very common. We will be going into down the road some of the remedies you might pursue for that. Now, a couple more things I want to remind you. It's very hard to believe this. There are scam artists that prey on disaster victims. There are contractors, people who aren't contractors, that come in and say they're contractors, come in from out of state. So now I have a very strong preference for local myself as a consumer advocate, but still, sometimes there aren't enough local guys to go around. Okay, but really check references and the status of licenses before you hire anyone, before you hire somebody who's a contractor, before you hire a public adjuster, before you hire an air quality tester. Check their references and their license status. All right. Please be careful about paying large upfront fees before any work has been done. That's one of, you may get annoyed. Why is my mortgage company, making me impound these funds? Well, some of it is for your own protection, because it's pretty common that builders will take money and not do the work and then disappear. Now, very, very important that you have some protections for that. What is a public adjuster? A public adjuster commonly referred to as a PA, is a private claim adjuster who works for you, not the insurance company. Generally, they work on a contingent fee basis, meaning you don't pay them by the hour. Their fee is a percentage of the money they recover from your insurance company on your behalf. There's a typo there. Sorry about that. A red flag should immediately go up if you encounter a PA that's trying to rush or pressure you. Now, you heard me say it's not for everyone to adjust your own loss, to work with your insurance company and handle your own loss. There's some great public adjusters out there, but you got to make sure that it's going to work for you. So before you hire one, if you are severely underinsured, maybe it's not a good idea to hire a public adjuster because they're going to take a piece of the insurance benefits that you need. On the other hand, public adjusters will typically, not only will they take the weight off your shoulders by fully documenting, doing all that legwork and the scoop and scope and you estimate, you don't have to worry about that stuff. They'll worry about it. And they often can get you more than you would have gotten on your own, right? That's a diligent PA. But if you hire one that's overloaded or unethical, they can further delay your claim. They can make matters worse, and they may take money out of your pocket. So if you decide to hire one, make sure that you hire only a licensed PA, ask for their license number and check it, ask for references and check them. For me, I would hire only somebody who is a member of a Colorado-based PA trade association, the Rocky Mountain Association of Public Insurance Adjusters or the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. That's a good way of safeguarding because those are trade associations where they have to pay dues and those associations have ethics requirements. And so it's a good way to find somebody reputable that's going to actually make your life better, which is the idea, right? Keep up that paper trail. You already heard us say it and say it again. Learn to earn. Only you know the condition of your property. Don't take less than you're entitled to just because the adjuster is making assumptions about you. You've got to do some of your own documenting. And we have lots of resources at our website to help you do that. And get help when you need it, right? Get help from your neighbors. Get help from United Policyholders. Get help from the Department of Insurance and or hire a professional when you need it, right? Time is on your side. Statistics show that the longer a claim stays open, the more money the insurer pays. So ask for advances and extensions when you need them. And just remember, fully and accurately documenting and valuing a major loss takes time. So here are the previously recorded videos you can watch at your convenience. If you didn't get enough tonight and you can't wait for our next workshop. How to read and understand your policy, partial loss and smoke damage, navigating the dwelling portion, much more detail about how to get that accurate scope, insurance help for renters. And then we go a little deeper into smoke, ash, and soot issues. Okay. And stay informed, stay in touch with us. Take care of yourselves, be nice to yourselves. No one's in top form right now, you know, whether it be COVID or whether it be the incredible loss that you are, that you're swimming back from. So just really, you're in it for the long haul. And just as Carrie said, you know, do the little things for yourself and your family that you can. And just know that as long as you've got a safe and comfortable place to stay, these decisions will get made in time, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So to request a copy of today's PowerPoint or the recording, you email info@uphelp.org. I'm so glad to have had the time with you and to have the people in our organization that are really experts that we will be bringing to you in the months ahead. So thank you again to Gary, to Lori, to Carrie, to my team. We really are rooting for you on your Colorado wildfire road to recovery. And please do take advantage of everything we offer free of charge, no strings attached at uphelp.org. Good evening.